All right, let's check this out. Let's check this next video out right here.
For some reason, we are here once again. I don't know why we're here once again, but Ludwig, for some reason, can't keep my name out of his mouth. And he's now trying to paint me as a disingenuous content creator. When
Because you are. Like Tectone is definitively a disingenuous content creator.
I showcase you guys the reason why he's painting me as a disingenuous content
Yeah.
creator, and when he
But
goes
again,
on...
the fans sweep because that is like, the culture these people have cultivated. That is the culture that these people have created. These people don't see stuff like this as problems. They will continuously, like, sweep stuff under the rug because they don't care to do their due diligence or to, like, listen to criticism or engage with critique. All they care about is employing the exact same rhetoric and tactics that these people do because it's all just team sports.
record saying...
Like it is not within their brains to do so. They'll just leave a comment saying, "You're wrong. You're lying. Why are you trying to clout chase off this individual?" As if these people haven't clout chased off of multiple other people in the past. There's a whole fuck ton of cognitive dissonance. They don't bother to engage. It's just, I don't care, so long as they have somebody entertaining to watch the following day.
that he'd rather kill myself than him watch any of my videos. And then he proceeded to watch both of my videos. I think you guys are going to start putting the pieces together. I want to make this very clear. I have had no issue with Ludwig before any of this. None. I have no desire to make these fucking videos. But when you are once again blasting my name to hundreds of thousands of people, I really don't know what you want me to do. Just stop saying my fucking name so I can move forward.
The thing is like, is a person not allowed to defend themselves as somebody potentially being disingenuous? Is a person not allowed to invoke your name after you yourself took the first shots? You went after Ludwig first. You started talking shit on Ludwig first about the mango situation. You called him a rat. You went after him first.
So I was...
And all of a sudden, like, he's like sure, Ludwig may have been in the wrong to an extent, to like certain degrees, absolutely. That's even something that I myself said, and I don't fully disagree with some of the claims that Tectone has. But the thing is that Tectone doesn't even make these opinions entirely himself. He looks at other people for these opinions. Even if Ludwig does deserve the criticism, is a person not allowed to, like, fend for themselves?
With my life, am I going to complain about getting another YouTube video? No. But if there's one thing I'm not going to fucking tolerate, it's being called disingenuous when my entire fucking shtick is being as genuine.
No, you're incredibly disingenuous. Like, you can claim to be that your entire shtick is being as genuine as possible, but you are inherently a disingenuous creator.
It's fucking possible.
The fact that you capitalize so much of being banned from Twitch without actually ever pointing to the reasons as to why you got banned and lied about it. Lied about why you got banned and even, like, downplay it to make it seem as if you didn't break the TOS in certain cases. And then try to make it seem as if other people break the TOS significantly more than you. When upon examination, when looking at all of the fucking evidence, quote-unquote evidence, so-called evidence that you provide, none of those people are actually breaking TOS the way you would like them to have done. None of those things that you presented are actually TOS. It's just stuff that people would disagree with and potentially, like, shift their eyes at because it sounds strange. But it's not against the terms of service.
I've gotten into so much shit because I tell the truth, even out of fault, even when it makes me look like shit.
Not true.
So if you are new here, and if you are interested in seeing everything going on with this completely self-orchestrated disaster that Ludwig just will not stop causing upon himself.
You would realize that a good chunk of their audience would recognize the problem. People who watch YouTubers aren't watching YouTubers because they have critical brains. People who watch YouTubers because they want their opinions affirmed by somebody.
And I want to make this very clear.
That's why content creation like this is incredibly, popular. Why it pops off a lot. Why, people like More Pegasus get millions of views. They don't care to actually do any critical thinking and do, like, a little bit of research. And as a matter of fact, I don't even blame them for not doing so. Being an ignorant piece of shit, being an ignorant loser, is probably the easiest way to go about living life. Why would you want to spend an extra hour or 2 hours out of your day looking at retards like Tectone, identifying where they're lying, looking at people like Ludwig, identify where they're like, being incorrect, looking at people like Hassan and giving him the benefit of the doubt on certain issues that he's being misrepresented on? Why would you take the additional time to do that out of your day yourself when you could just watch somebody who's popular like Tectone that is getting like, that is like gets platformed by people like Asmongold, who also doesn't do any research? Why would you go out of your day to like double check the information that you're consuming or the media that you're consuming when all you can do is just put it in the background, listen to it for several hours a day, have them affirm your opinions because you think they're infallible, because you think that they're credible, and then just like go to the gym and then just go watch a movie and then just like go work on your car, walk your dog, play a video game? Why would anybody want to go out of their way, double check the media that they consume when it's infinitely easier to just put somebody like Tecton in the background? That's the problem. Is like none of these individuals will ever double check their information. That's just not how they operate. People are obsessed with consuming media, never checking it.
No one is causing this guy's misfortune rather than his own stubbornness and the ability to not take accountability for anything. Like, comment, subscribe on this video. We got 10,000 new subs from the last one, and I greatly appreciate that. And turn the bell on for all notifications because, God forbid, I'm not dealing with this fucking child for free. And I mean this generally, guys. I'm 31 years old, and I feel like I'm speaking to autistic children because these kids don't get what a normal human being who has empathy looks like when they're fucking 29.
You don't understand what it's like to, okay, what a normal human being who has empathy. Yet you don't feel even slightly agitated or even slightly perturbed at the fact that Ethan Klein is making a very disproportionate attack on 3 creators who his entire goal is to financially ruin out of pettiness. You don't feel empathy when you go out of your way to insinuate that somebody has STDs, when you call somebody retarded and call them whores, when you make very, very personal, agitated attacks at people. You don't really? Somebody who's empathetic wouldn't go out of their way to do those types of things, but just saying. You could say you have a level of empathy where it benefits your prerogatives and your worldview. But I mean,
So
let's be so for real.
Oh, Ludwig, I will explain to you how normal human beings work who haven't been groomed by the internet. We just want to see some fucking accountability. Let me rephrase that. I don't.
Okay, it's ironic that Tectone says any of this. Like Tectone should not be the one making these like deliveries on criticism, or at least he should have like a level of self-awareness when all he's done is misrepresent the reasons as to why he got banned over and over again, and leverage that to build his YouTube channel. Now, don't get me wrong, chase the bag, but you can't be talking about other people not taking accountability when you yourself don't take accountability and just instead lie about it to make it a monolith of an issue when you were rightfully banned, and then not actually give fair criticism as to Twitch not being consistent moderators. Because he'll invoke that and he'll say that, but he doesn't go on to explain. And then when he did posture about laying down a trap, all of the evidence that he provided was actually not evidence. None of that was TOS.
I don't care. Listen, Ludwig, you at your worst, you're a disingenuous piece of shit bad friend.
That could be said for both of these people, to be clear.
Right? That's it.
That could be said to literally both of these people.
At your worst. Right? But at your best, I acknowledge that you've done some good. And by the way, me saying that isn't good for my own channel. You know as well as I know, the thing that I should be saying right now is this guy, he's a piece of shit. I hate everything he stands for. But I'm not going to sit here and inflate my views to be more extreme in order to fart more of the hate crowd against you. I don't fucking care, brother. I just want you to fucking shut up and try to stop painting me in a bad light because you're upset because I'm telling the truth about you.
People feel about me. Now, I did talk to Mango, actually. I talked to Mango. He reached out. We talked a bit. And I have some thoughts and opinions that I thought about speaking, but he asked.
Yeah, but I got to formulate them scientifically to make them as least offensive as possible. Keep going.
Of me to not speak on it.
You're full of shit. You are absolutely.
I mean, you can't really claim that without knowing what the interactions are like. I don't necessarily disagree with some of the claims that he's making, but again, him saying it is kind of him saying it is incredibly ironic.
Full of shit. There is no way Mango reached out to you and said, don't talk about it at all, and don't take any accountability, and make sure to double down that you feel no guilt. Because here's the thing. You said that Mango said that he reached out to you and he said, don't talk about it. That's crazy after you've already talked about it 3 times, said that you're doubling down and you feel no guilt and you have no regrets. So
I mean, that's not exactly what he said, but
full
okay.
of shit. It's insane. Jesus Christ.
And I think that's a fair request. He said, I want to take it on the chin. I think the drama is dying out. He's spending time with his kid.
I think this is true. I think what he's saying is true. Why would Mango want one of the most prolific creators in this scene to continue to like dragging this out and potentially bring more eyes to a situation so that people can continuously hate on Mango if he's actually taking the steps to recover from alcohol, like, you know, from his alcohol addiction, from his alcoholism.
He started.
This sounds fair.
Do you want to know why the drama with Mango is dying out and the drama with you is perpetuating, Ludwig? Do you want to know why that is? That's because the moment he fucked up, before anybody even said anything, he put out 5 tweets expressing how humiliated he was with himself and how he deserved all the misfortune coming to him. That is why no one is talking about Mango still. That is why. And that's good because Mango fucked up tremendously.
That's not true. That's simply not true. The reason why nobody keeps talking about it is because the life cycle of drama is the life cycle of drama is 1 to 2 days, 1 to 3 days.
And he needs help and he needs to get medicated.
Life cycle of drama is no longer how it used to be.
And he needs to go to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings because quitting alcohol is very fucking difficult.
Day 1 of not drinking yesterday.
Wow. I'm not even going to weigh in on that. Let's keep going.
Which is dope. And like, I think genuinely
progress, but it's like, all right, let's keep going.
There's a perception of Mango that people have in their mind, but they don't actually care about him. I don't think they'll be in his stream when he's back to streaming in a month or whenever it is.
It doesn't matter if people care about Mango or not. It doesn't matter if they're going to be in a stream or not. That's not how you judge someone's loyalty or their credibility or their kinship for one person. Having a general worry for people just because they're a common human is pretty much it. I don't need to see someone dying on the street to want to help them, but I won't help them unless they're my friend. If someone's injured in the street, I will make sure to call an ambulance for them and make sure they're...
All right, I don't care. I really don't care about the moral posturing. He's just talking out of his ass.
They're human.
Throwing around buzzwords.
And I don't get how shit of a take it is saying, all these people who are pretending to care about Mango, they don't actually care about Mango. They're not going to watch his streams. It's not even about that. You don't need to have that deep of a level.
That's not what Ludwig is saying. That is simply just not what he's saying. That is simply just not what Ludwig is saying.
To fucking do that. You don't need to be their friend to do what's right for the common man. Like, what are we doing here? This is the most robotic take. I'm a lizard man sent from the UFOs. Supreme Leader.
All right, don't care about the fucking bit. That is not what he's saying. He's simply saying that Mango doesn't want to be put in the fucking limelight. But funnily enough, what Tectone is doing here that he fails to realize is that he's putting both of these people in the spotlight. He's putting Ludwig and Mango. Mango as an alcoholic with alcoholic issues in the spotlight. People are going to continuously be aware of that. And Ludwig for hosting an event where Mango utilized said alcoholism to do terrible things, a level of sexual harassment. At the end of the day, like you have to like measure out the level of accountability that somebody has to take here. But it's trying like you like what Tectone is trying to do is that he's trying to hold Ludwig equally as accountable for Mango, when the reality is that okay, if there is a level of responsibility that Ludwig bears for inviting a known alcoholic to a party where the whole point is to engage in as much drinking as possible before you have to stop. There is a level of responsibility that Ludwig should should have to own up to and say, yes, I was wrong for inviting a known alcoholic to that. That's true. But at the same time, if a conversation happens, let's say you're Mango, for example, you know you have a problem with alcohol. You've been asked or you've been told about said problem in the past and you've been aware of it for several years, presumably. You're asked to you're invited to a beer marathon where the whole point is to drink as many beers as possible. Wouldn't you, as a rational adult, wouldn't your responsibility be, as a rational adult who's receiving said invitation, would be to sit down and think, huh, I do typically have a tendency to overindulge in alcohol and engage in terrible ways after I'm done drinking a lot. Is it really in my best interest to go to this party? Possibly no. A person should probably say no. But again, being an alcoholic, it's probably the temptation is probably too strong. Now, after the fact, you can criticize in isolation Ludwig's behavior for stoking his drinking and encouraging him and enabling him. Absolutely, there's a level of criticism. But that's the thing. You have to measure how much criticism is applicable here. Because you can't say that Ludwig is solely responsible for allowing Mango to go down this route. Mango had these predispositions. So there's a level of dishonesty being employed here to Ludwig. I think you could absolutely criticize Ludwig. He should have understood. And at least within that moment, but to apply everything that happened within said event of him encouraging him to drink and then doing the whole BAC score and putting up leaderboards, to apply that retroactively is silly. You can criticize it in the moment, but to apply it retroactively and make it seem as if Ludwig was incredibly irresponsible from beginning to end, not entirely the case.
Three more.
There are ways that you have to every step along the way you have to pause and you have to weigh out both people and the level of responsibility that they both employ.
4 years, guys, and I'll unlock it. We all know what he's unlocking in 3 years.
He was messaging me. He was like, Tectone followed me. Who the fuck is Tectone? You know what I'm saying? It's it's not a very genuine pursuit of the people who speak on Mango's behalf.
Okay. So let me get this right. Even though I have said multiple times, I have no idea who Mongo is. I have no idea who C9 Mango is. I barely even know what C9 is. Besides some guy
All right, so you don't know anything about the history of these individuals. And you're out here wholeheartedly trying to employ a definitive claim on Ludwig and Mango. You're not even taking the moment to measure and take in these caveats and measure it out as a whole.
Medios
Or and measure out all of these individual factors.
who is a
You just want to apply blame to Ludwig because it's the next most convenient thing to do.
fucking
I mean, yeah, this is straight up disingenuous.
dick 9 years ago and didn't show up to Good Games Con in Canada. That's about my extent of C9 knowledge. Let me get this right. So because I just now followed him, after me explicitly saying, check every single video. Check every single video, Ludwig. I have said multiple times, I have no idea who the fuck this guy is. But here's the thing, Ludwig. I don't need to know someone.
No, you would ideally have to know before you can start applying certain criticisms or certain levels of accountability or certain levels of blame. You would have to measure out these factors. You would have to measure out where Mango stood on alcoholism a year ago, 2 years ago, to then measure out how responsible Ludwig actually is to have invited somebody who was a known alcoholic. Because once again, let's focus on the invitation, for example. Let's say Ludwig extended an invitation to an alcoholic. Sure, you can criticize Ludwig for extending an invitation to an alcoholic that would feel inclined to go to said event because of their alcoholism. But again, once you gather that Mango understood he had a problem with alcohol as long as a year ago, it should also be the onus on Mango. It is his responsibility to then deny that invitation and say, no, I'm not going to go because I know how I get around alcohol. I'd preferably not want to be a burden on other people. It would be selfish of an individual to not take those things into consideration upon receiving an invite. So, yes, there is a huge amount of accountability that you can give to Mango for getting batshit drunk, and there is a level of responsibility that you can give to Ludwig for enabling said behavior. But ultimately, whose responsibility is it in the end? Whose ultimate responsibility is it in the end? It's Mango's. And the most that you can say about Ludwig is that he probably should have had a little bit more understanding to measure or monitor the status of his friend as the event went on, knowing that he had these problems. But to apply that retroactively, to try to make it seem as if Ludwig set him up to get fucked from the beginning, is ludicrous and absolutely bullshit.
To want to make sure someone is okay. Do you want to know why I followed him, Ludwig? Do you want to know why I followed him? Because when I saw a guy in a room with 100 other people and not a single one of them was his friend and attempted to mitigate any of the life-ruining things that he did on camera because he was blackout drunk, and honestly, the guy's probably a little bit weird too.
So everybody else in this environment is drunk. They can hardly like, their inhibitions are low as well. They're probably not taking anything seriously because they're drunk, and all of a sudden it's their responsibility as well to stop this guy. Is it their burden to like deal with this individual? If you get drunk and then start like sexually harassing individuals, is it the responsibility of others around you to stop you?
I still have enough empathy and care for the common man. I was going to reach out to him and hopefully help him provide with him a therapist, maybe an easy way to talk about his.
All right, yeah, dude. More moral posturing, more moral virtue signaling. This type of manipulative behavior doesn't work on me.
You think that I'm following him because I'm disingenuous? No, I went to follow him.
No, your coverage is your coverage is disingenuous. This guy's putting words in Ludwig's mouth where he hasn't said that. Yeah, this in itself is disingenuous. You virtue signaling and posturing to the audience, setting up this moral flag, is disingenuous. Now, okay, if you make a statement like this and then you don't prove that you are facilitating this, that is disingenuous. The same thing that you're saying about Ludwig over here, where you deny that he talked to Mango, can be said about you here, where we can also deny that it was your intention to actually provide this guy with a level of care and help.
Him because I want to help this.
Isn't that the bystander argument? Yes.
Guy with his issues because I know nobody else is going to, or at least that's the perception that I got. You want to paint,
okay. So I don't think he realizes. But if this is the perception that he has, if in actuality he can't prove that this is the case, and he's like utilizing this to posture to his audience and posture to Ludwig, this is definitionally disingenuous. He doesn't actually know whether this is the case. He doesn't actually know whether other people aren't going to care for him or to, give him a little bit of help. He doesn't actually know these things. He's making it out to be that way, adding, that's the perception that I got in the end. Then this is definitionally disingenuous. You can't possibly know these things, but you're going to pretend like that is definitely the case up until the end.
Me disingenuous because I'm down to help the common man?
Well, now, okay, if you're going to start claiming disingenuous and then utilize this as you not being disingenuous, now you have to prove and leak that this was actually your intent. Now you have to leak your DMs. You have to leak any evidence to suggest that this is actually the case. You have to show us this now. You can't just claim it, because once you just claim it without providing evidence, that is disingenuous. Especially when you're throwing in all of these fillers, when you're throwing all of this posturing, when you're throwing all of these, bold statements claiming that that was your intent the entire time. That I don't know if people were going to help him or not. That is the perception that I got. When you take all of these things into account, that is pretty disingenuous.
Ludwig, what type of reptilian robot are you? Did Hassan, your daddy, tell you to say that? Is that
Who's to say that Ludwig himself didn't provide? Who's to say that Ludwig? Okay, another example of like, you know, him of Tectone being disingenuous here, since that's going to be the focus on this. Who's to say that that Ludwig himself didn't provide Mango with the necessary avenues to get help, with the necessary funding, with the necessary direction, with the necessary people? Who's to say? Are you going to claim that as a fact? Or are you going to imply that without at least playing devil's advocate, or at least making sure that it is clear to your audience that you're speculating on that fact?
the reason why you've said my name now 3 times in a negative context when all I have done is say the provable truth about you? This shit is disgusting.
This also is disingenuous. You've said my name 3 times now in a negative context. Okay, but to what extent was that context negative? To what extent was that context so bad that it warranted this level of a response? Where it warranted you putting words in his mouth, saying that you followed Mango to provide him help, provide him a therapist. What context was so bad that you needed to sit down for 20 minutes and posture about how much you care about another person? That is inherently disingenuous.
Like what in the fuck are you even trying to say about me? Hey, this guy went to go fuck.
I would argue, if I knew this person's full brain and how it functioned, if I was inside this person's brain, I would argue that this is inherently a manipulative tactic. But I'm not going to do that.
Follow him. He only followed him after all this shit. Yeah, because I didn't fucking know him. Yeah, but if you're not friends with someone for at least 3 years and 6 days, you don't get to follow them and talk to them because you want to help them? What?
I mean, what type of normal person just, you know, what type of like, okay. You could be the most empathetic person in the world. You could care about, like, you know, like virtues and morals and all that. But a normal individual, unless they were specifically going out of their way to do something, unless they were specifically going out of their way to like prove approval or set an example, isn't just gonna go extend a helping hand out of the goodness of their heart. People don't do that. People do not do that. There's no way that somebody like Tectone is as kind-hearted as he claims to be, if he's going to be this disingenuous this entire time. I just don't believe that. I don't buy that. I don't buy that he's seriously employing all of this help out of the kindness of his heart, just because he feels it is his moral duty to do so. I don't buy that.
Jesus! You think I have something to gain from
Yes. Clout.
helping men
Attention.
go? No.
Yes. Clout and attention.
Do you think I disclosed any of that publicly? No. You are forcing me to.
Did he?
And this shit is
Did he?
weird as fuck. Good
Did he force you to?
Lord. What a fucking loser, bro.
Making it somebody else's. No, I didn't mean to hit you. You forced me to hit you.
Just a straight up idiot. Do you know how many, and by the way, if you're a content creator here, feel free to tweet this out. Feel free to DM Ludwig. Feel free to leave a comment on this YouTube channel. Do you know how many content creators I have reached out to that I don't know at all? Because they've come underneath heat on the internet, because they're in an issue on the internet, because they need more money on the internet, because they are looking to further their career on the internet? Hundreds. Here's a fun little fact.
Prove it then. Prove it. Showcase it to us. Ludwig forced you to disclose that you reached out to Mango publicly to help him. Now you are forcing yourself to have to prove this to us before we buy or accept that you're a good person at face value.
Ludwig?
Prove it to us.
You can check my tweets from 2 weeks ago. Do you know how many people I reached out to that I didn't even fucking know to help them join on Kick because they said they wanted to? Well over 400, Ludwig. Yes, it's true. You
prove it then. I prove it.
You can talk to people you don't know and still want to help people you don't know. Even if
yeah, that's true, but typically people aren't doing that out of the goodness of their heart. People aren't doing that just because they have like the extra funds to extend. People aren't doing that just because they want to be kind and helpful. People don't just do that because they're so incredibly kind. It's typically because there's something to gain. I would like to believe that any normal person, not just Tectone, could do something like that just because they're kind. But that's not the case. Everything in life is transactional to a degree.
If you
People don't just do things out of their kindness of their heart, especially something as demanding as this.
disagree what they've done, I think Mongo needs help with his alcohol issue, and I think he needs therapy. I don't need to know someone to want to help someone. Do you understand that? I'm not like you.
You don't think his friends and family didn't know that in the past? You didn't think that multiple of his peers in the past didn't know that? You didn't think that Mango himself didn't know that in the past?